I'm going to call on Jim Owens to try and draw it all together, to try and pull together the, if you like, the flavours that have come from the speakers earlier on in the evening, and they have been so rich, and that there are others who could have had a speaking role all by themselves. Indeed, we may come back to them again for more at another stage. And then to try and bring us through Gráinne's piece and right down to John's words of action and being citizens and having that responsibility as a citizen to take an action. Jim is a member of the AEFJN Ireland, another one of us, thankfully. And Jim is a volunteer with the Spiritans. So Jim, over to you. You have the floor. Thanks indeed.
Mute.
You're on mute. That's okay, Jim. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Brian. And I'm very conscious that it is coming up near 9 o'clock, and people have been very energetic and generous with their time for almost the last 2 hours. It has been a marvelous evening, and you know, when Veronica spoke so powerfully about her experiences, and that image of the company cleaning up this big channel, and what did they do with the stuff from it? They put it up on land that some of the women were working with. You know, that, I think that symbolizes a lot what we've been saying all night, that this big machines come along and destroy the livelihoods of people that are trying to eke out a living. Winifred spoke so powerfully, and that image that John referred to of that it's the new Pharaoh. And I'm conscious that for some of us, we'll be celebrating the story of the Exodus in a couple of weeks' time, getting free from Pharaoh. And we have to ponder, how do we help in the exodus of people from the slavery, really, that they're suffering from? So that was a powerful image. And the other one was the image of the contrarian nuns on the floor of the AGM, you know, and the ways trying to get them out of it. Now that's just one aspect of their work being frustrated, but I think it's a powerful one, and it was lovely to hear, you know, we're more organized this year and we will have circumvented some of those difficulties. So thank you, Winifred, and it was great to hear from you, and we wish you well in your work in New York. And then coming in from Liberia, that's great story of success. Now I know that there may be many a slip between the cup and the lip, but it is good to hear that ordinary people are getting access and rights towards their land. Listening to the speakers, one of the things that struck me was a motor car is very expensive. We talked about the cobalt and how difficult, and the cost of that, the real cost of it, from so much suffering can be generated to get this precious metal from the ground, particularly on that Panorama program that Tony mentioned. And then mentioned about fuel that we need, the petrol, the fuel we need, and the rubber for the tires can come at an immense expense. So those images, I think, help to summarize a lot of the input of the evening. Gráinne then gave us a great global quick survey of so much difficulties from Bangladesh to Cambodia, to different situations, Uganda there at the end, you know, the suffering that can be caused by exploitation. And it's exploitation for goods that we need and use. John, again, is great, clear style. The idea of we are in a certain position that we can access our MAPs, and it's good that people from outside Europe, the European Union, feel free to use that as well. But it is important that we continue to advocate that this will be a good treaty, and that it's very slow, and there's tools different even among the MEPs trying to water it down in various ways, even as we speak. But it's important that we keep the pressure on them and let them know that there are people following it intently. Again, thanks to all the people that participated, all the people that made comments, and I want to thank you. And I want to thank the organisers, because a lot of work went into it. So I was very happy to be part of the team in a little way. But thank you for joining us tonight. And please, when you get the letter, please follow up with it. So thank you very much, folks, and good night.
Thank you very much indeed, Jim, and for your gracious thanks for everybody. But I would like to specifically thank Sister Mary Delargy, who introduced the evening so well, and then Tony, who met with Sister Winifred and Sister Veronica. And despite some of the kind of intermittent problems that we have with the internet, Sister Veronica managed to get her message across very, very clearly indeed. I would also very much like to thank Ronya Kilcullen for bringing us her experience and giving us the global view of exactly how women and girls are impacted by corporate irresponsibility. I'm very grateful to Tony for fielding the questions and organising the conversation between Winifred and Veronica. I'm also very grateful to Anne and to Bernadine and to Edward, who made their own appearance in our webinar this evening. And I have to say there are probably others here who I would think in time we may well reach out to again, if we were to do something similar, because all of a sudden we've discovered not that there's a whole new, well, that there are other people who have another story that we perhaps haven't heard yet. We might reach out to them also. I'm grateful to Jim, who drew the strings together, and I'm especially grateful to John McGeady, who is the chairperson of AEFJN, and kind of came in at the end and very clearly gave his piece as Jim spoke, and concisely, and has prepared the letter and has probably done an awful lot of the work behind the scenes that you haven't seen, that has brought about this evening's webinar and indeed other webinars that we have. There is also somebody else behind the scenes, and has been behind the scenes in a lot of the webinars, and I have forgotten to thank her beforehand, but I have it written in big letters in front of me here this evening. And indeed, somebody else has said, Brian, don't forget. So I won't forget Michelle Robertson. Michelle has been involved at every stage of the preparation of this particular webinar, in terms of setting up the graphic, to advertising it, to preparing the landing page, to organising the emails that go out to say, here's your Zoom link for this evening. But then Michelle gave up her evening this evening so that she would be here to spotlight all of us who were speaking, to manage the sharing of the various presentations, and to sit in the background listening to all of what we had to say, to be sure that our message was as possibly clear as it could be, and also to drop that letter into the chat. So before we sign off, we have 1 minute to go to 9 o'clock. I just want to say that this evening's presentation in the form of a recording will be put up on our website, and all of those who have tuned in this evening will get that, and you can share it with others who didn't tune in. But what we will do is we will try and break it up into digestible chunks. But especially, as John has said, you are being invited to download, print and sign the letter. Even if you have signed a letter beforehand, we will have another letter and we will alert you to that, so that if you've sent one before, you will be able to send a follow-up letter this evening. So from us here in Ireland, where we are, and we just want to say good night to all in Spain, Ghana, Zambia, Liberia, England, Ireland, New York, Ethiopia, and Italy. So thank you all very, very much indeed for joining what has been a very, very rich webinar. So thank you indeed, and the very best of luck. We'll leave the lines open for a minute or two if people want to have a chat around. So we might remove the spotlight. So if people just want to have a chat in amongst themselves for a few minutes before we sign off, we can do that. Thank you all once again.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Bye.